This Willbender build is extremely strong. It applies a lot of boons to its allies. It's a healer that has crazy good healers as well. And the best part here is it's very easy to play. It's a low intensity Alacrity healing build for Guardian. So if you're interested, be sure to watch the whole video to not miss out a thing. As always, thanks a lot to all my supporters on YouTube, Twitch and Patreon. And now let's jump right in. So again, this is a low intensity build. So it is not perfect in terms of how much healing it can output if you compare it to a very crazy high APM healing build. However, it achieves in 95% of the cases, I would say, enough healing and boon output that you can easily run it in most content in Guild Wars 2. So let's start with the gear. So for gear, it's quite easy. You go for full Harrier gear and with Superior Rune of the Water. The only two pieces that would not be Harrier would be your back piece and your amulet. Those would be Magi. If you only have exotic gear and not Ascended, I would go for full Harrier. If you want to be more tanky, which is also perfectly fine, you can even go for full Minstrel. Be aware then that you might be the tank in raid fights, for example, where toughness-based tanking is the case. But full Minstrel can be perfectly viable as well. But full Harrier is typically the one that I would go for because it's just the most straightforward option with two Magi's pieces, like I say. For infusions, if you can afford them, you would go with healing infusions, of course. For your weapons, you would go with Axe and Shield, on both of which you have Superior Sigil of Transference and Concentration. That's the same for your hammer. Also Transference and Concentration. Again, you would go for full Minstrel or Harrier. For your Relic, you would go with Relic of the Monk, just the best option for the healing output. For food and consumables, you would go with all of food, salad with mint garnish, just 10% more outgoing healing, while you also get healing power and concentration. Perfect. If you can't afford the Ascended version, very cheap option would be Delicious Rice Balls. 100 healing power and 10% outgoing healing, just lose some concentration. And for utility consumables, the by far best option is just Bountiful Maintenance Oils. Gives you so much outgoing healing power, it's really, really good. Now let's talk about the traits. So for the traits, you want to run Honor, Virtuous, and Willbender. In Honor, you get a lot of nice boons, so you get Vigor when you dodge. When you dodge, you actually heal, that's very important, keep that in mind. And then your passive of your skill 2 will actually generate endurance as well. Then passively, when you cast a healing skill, you actually get a protection symbol. Then passively grant might when you critically strike. That's quite nice, because you will have fury permanently, of course, in a group, and therefore you actually strike quite often, and you can upkeep just by using this trait around 16 might. It's really nice. And then rid of persistence. That's really important because your symbols are now improved and they heal every second. And they have higher radius and longer duration. Really, really good. Then Virtues, that's your bread and butter of this build. You get boons when you activate your Virtues, and you get some nice recharge reduction on your Virtues. Your concentration have longer duration. Your passive of your skill 2 is stronger, and when you activate it, it actually removes conditions as well from you and your allies. Really good. And lastly, that's the important one here, Battle Presence. Nearby allies gain the passive effect of Virtue skill 2. That means that your endurance that you get and the healing passively from the skill F2 will actually go to your allies as well. And that's the important part, especially on Willbender, because on Willbender you actually get Alacrity. So whenever you use your F2 skill and it actually triggers, then it will not heal anymore, but it will give boons to allies, which will be Regeneration and Alacrity. That's really, really good. And because of that, you actually can upkeep Alacrity and Regeneration permanently on allies. Other than that, on Willbender you get some nice swiftness and you get some more damage, that's not that important, but you get some more healing power and vitality and just some nice might and fury. Keep that in mind, that the might is to your allies, whereas the fury is only to yourself. For your utility skills, you would always go with Receive the Light. It's just a nice healing skill in front of you. Then you would go for Stand Your Ground, just for the nice stability, and Sanctuary for some nice healing and Missile Reflect and also a lot of CC. And of course for Signet of Mercy for the concentration and the revive. But you can swap all three of those around, whatever you need. You can go, for example, for more reflect. You can go for more stability. You can go for more CC. You can go for more healing actively with the Bow of Truth. There are so many options that you have here. Always choose the one that is actually worthwhile for your situation. You can even go for Merciful Intervention or Judge's Intervention when you need teleports or even a revive. So keep that in mind. Switch that around, whatever you need. And your elite skill is just the most passive option that you can go for, which would be Signet of Courage, because it passively heals. And if you activate it, it actually fully heals, but I would typically leave it passive. You can swap that if you wanted to Feel My Wrath, or even Renewed Focus, or even Heaven's Palm for CC, but all of those are fine. Just typically in a low intensity build, I want to have as much passive healing as I can get, so that's why I go for Signet of Courage. On your weapons, you have your X, which is used for the pull, and very importantly for the Fury on your symbol too. And then you have some nice H's and protection, and some nice projectile deflect, and some nice healing and CC. But typically you will just stay on hammer, and on hammer you only use your hammer auto attack. The auto attack is really strong because the last hit will apply a symbol, and that symbol will heal and apply perma protection to your allies. So if you just spam the auto attack, you will heal passively a lot and just give a lot of boons as well. If you need CC, you can use your 3 and 4 skill, but other than that, I would always use the auto attack only on hammer. And then you have your virtues, like I already mentioned. The F2 is always very important. Just use that whenever. It gives a lot of passive boons to your allies, especially Alacrity and Region. But also you can use, of course, your F1 for some might, or the F3 for some nice passive boons to your allies as well. But typically, I would say the F2 is the most important. And then, when it comes to rotation, that's the most important part here, is it's a low intensity build, so it's focused on having as little amount of APM, actions per minute, that you have to do. But it's still a little bit higher than a low intensity DPS build, because it's actually, you have to heal, you have to get your boons up, and it's only possible by using a few skills. So you would typically start out the fight by activating your Symbol of Vengeance, so your X2. Then you would use your F1 and then swap to hammer. Use your Flowing Resolve, so your F2, and after that just use the auto attack and hammer, and you will be good. If you need more healing, you can dodge. If you need even more healing, you use, for example, your healing skill behind your allies, so they actually receive the cone attack healing. And other than that, just use your F2 of cooldown and spam your hammer auto attack. And whenever the weapon swap comes off, you swap to X, use your X2, and swap whenever it comes back off. Cooldown the weapon swap, you swap back to hammer and use the auto attack again. So it's really straightforward, and that keeps up all the boons. It's really easy to play, it's really fun to play. For a healer and low intensity build, that's really not that often the case that you see something like that. And you can see in the background, the healing output is actually really good for that you don't press that many buttons. It's just very passive, and you have so much reach and so much passive healing that you proc around you. Just try always to stick to your allies, of course, and like I said, use the dodge key and your healing of your healing skill if you need even more healing. But of course, if you really need to get a big heal out, you can of course also use the Signet of Courage active. Even though it's quite a long cast time, it will typically fully heal your allies. But again, this is a low intensity healing build. That doesn't mean it's completely brain off, because you are the healer, you have to do some mechanics sometimes. You have to be aware of keeping your health bars of your allies tipped up, and also the boons and stuff. So keep that in mind. You should not completely only hammer auto attack. You should be aware to actually weapon swap and use your skills if it's necessary. But like I said, this is very low actions per minute, so it should actually work in a low intensity scenario as well. So I hope you enjoyed this guide. If you did, be sure to leave a like. And if you want to see more content like this, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks as always to my dear supporters on YouTube, Twitch, and Patreon. And I hope to see you all in the next video.